you also talk about, obviously adaptive versus maladaptive perfectionism. And it was interesting for me to hear about, and I wonder if this is more of the classic perfectionist, because I remember, when you come into a job interview and, the generic question of what's your biggest fault. And like the
Mhm.
safest answer, of course, is like, I'm too much of a perfectionist sometimes. You know what I mean? Which is like
Yeah.
a humble brag. So when women
Mhm.
come to your practice, are they trying to eradicate perfectionism and see it as a negative, or does it kind of depend on what type they are?
So I got a lot of women who were trying to figure out why they couldn't find balance.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, um, not just in my private practice, that this happened everywhere. I used to have a private practice on Wall Street. And so I saw a lot of women in big law and finance.
Mhm.
And I also used to work at a rehab. I also used to work in residential treatment with kids. And what's really interesting is that in all of these clinical contexts, this theme comes up with women, which is everyone seems to have it figured out
Yeah.
of how to be rested and look a certain way and be achieving all these goals and being tending to your family thoughtfully and send out the holiday cards and exercise and make your dentist appointment and buy books from your local bookseller and all this stuff, but I can't figure it out, so can you help me? And it was like um cleaning a palace with a toothbrush, to go one by one to these women and say, let me tell you what I've discovered. Balance isn't real. It
Mm.
doesn't exist. It's just an idea. And nothing is wrong with you if you haven't achieved this easy breezy flowing life where everything's automated and every Monday looks the same. And every Wednesday, at 8 o'clock, you go for a run without fail. And then this happens and that happens. It's like so much happens in life. Our lives are disrupted all the time
Yeah.
by little things like your kid getting sick or a school, professional development day that you didn't know about. And you're like, what do you mean my kid's not going to school today? Or big things, like a health diagnosis or a death in the family or, a hurricane in your corner of the world. There's
Yeah.
this constant disruption. That's what life is. And yet, all these women were sort of approaching therapy with, like, how do I manage my life and plan for all the disruption so that it's never disrupted,
Yeah.
and really feeling like failures as a result. And also feeling the need to hide that sense of failure because what's going to happen if everyone knows that, I cried myself to sleep last night or that my partner and I are thinking of, you know, um, breaking up or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so interesting because I hear that a lot as well. A lot of women who listen to this, a lot of women I work with are highly successful. Externally, everything looks really good. I mean, CEOs and doctors and lawyers, and, also like perfect stay-at-home moms of 3 kids who have graduate degrees, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And yet, the thing I hear more than often is, I mean, obviously about drinking, but it translates to everything else, which is, why can't I drink like a normal person? Followed by, why
Mhm.
can't I cope like everyone else does? And I'm like, I talk to so many women, no one is
Yeah.
coping. And I'm also like, if people looked at you, would they know what is going on with you in any way? Like, people probably look to you and think the same thing you're thinking about everyone else because nobody is being honest because they're so
Mhm.
scared. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's okay for other people to see you and to make their own decisions about what you are or are not struggling with. And it's not our job to go around telling everybody all the things that are going wrong,
Yeah.
right? There's like this weird thing happening in the wellness world where authenticity means that you're sharing your problems constantly with no discretion or boundaries. It's
Mhm.
like, that's not what authenticity is. That's not what vulnerability is. But you're right. If you are feeling alone in your suffering, because high functioning people are not ever going to get a call from their boss because they haven't been at work for 4 days straight and nobody knows why. They're showing up. It's not that you're not able to do the things that you say you're going to do necessarily. It's that the way that you're getting them done is damaging you in some way. And maybe that looks like drinking excessively to cope, or isolating yourself in some way. And you have to, in those moments, be really honest with yourself about the fact that it's not going well and you need some help.
Yeah.
And help is something that I think is really tough for everybody to accept that we need. I have 6 different types of help spelled out in the book, because I think we talk about help as if it's like this big, huge mountain to climb, when sometimes the help is just one form of help. For example, I just need informational help
Mhm.
about X. And we think of help as therapy and emotionally grueling and the dark night of our soul, and we have to do all of this stuff, when sometimes it's just like, I need tangible help of, I need somebody to walk my dog 3 nights a week. Can I get a neighborhood kid to do that? And I need this and I need that. And if you think of help as this big, huge hurdle to climb, then you wait until you're ready to climb that before you ask for it. But
Mhm.
if you can break help up into little parts, then you can begin to kind of slow drip help and support into your life in a way that I think people can more easily be ready for, so that it's not some big dramatic moment of reckoning with
Breakdown
yourself.
or yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
can't do
sometimes it
this.
can be that, and I don't think that's a bad way. I don't think there's any bad way to get help, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be this whole like, okay, I need to turn my life around moment. There's so much pressure in that. It can
Yeah.
be little by little, step by step. Incrementalism is, I think, the most powerful way to change.
Yeah, I always think of that as like the block and tackling of what is, making you grit your teeth and get through the day. And how
Hmm.
can you alleviate some of that so you have more space in your life? Can you tell
Yeah.
me about the 6 kinds of help that you have outlined?
Yeah. Well, so there's tangible help, right? And that is, I have this line in the book of, sometimes we don't ask for help because it's like, for what? What am I going to call somebody and tell them that this is my problem? They're not going to say anything that's going to change the way I feel. They're not going to be able to bring this person back or make me feel better. And so, what's the point of texting or calling? And the line in the book is like, maybe that's true, but just because somebody can't change the way you feel doesn't mean they can't come over and clean your kitchen.